as we said that at the top, we talked a little bit about just following up on acquisitions calls or following up with sellers in acquisitions. So I've been doing that this past week or two because we're in the middle of hiring a new person for this role, and it's been a while since I've been in the role. So I thought I'd just check in a little bit about it. Um, and I'm just remembering all the things that sort of are best practices for me when I'm calling sellers. And really in specific, I'm talking about like we've made offers and now it's time to follow up with the seller and say, hey, did you get the offer? What do you think? And try and have that discussion with them.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'll just go through the basics. Mindset wise for me, I like to try and make it as lighthearted as possible and try and make a game out of it and just like be positive with people and be curious. Curiosity is a big one for me. Just rather than any confrontational things coming up, it's just being more curious about what people are saying. Like, oh, you think your property is worth more than that? Did I miss something? Is there, what is it that makes you think it's worth blah blah blah? Or can you tell me more about that? Or, or I'll ask things that also will maybe cause people to think twice about why they're valuing their property so high. And for me, I'm dealing with vacant land a lot. So, that looks like, oh, has it had a perk test? Will it perk? And then if they're like, oh, no, then that kind of maybe backs them off their price a little bit. Or I can ask them
Hmm.
lots of questions about, hey, I noticed that a lot looks like it's fully wooded. So have you thought about the cost to clear that lot to build a house there? Or have you looked into that? And they'll be like, oh, no, and the parallel
Yeah.
for this in houses is like Matt Larson likes to go, hey, can you walk me through the house? Like I walk in the front door, where am I? I'm in the living room. Okay. Is that like fully refinished, like magazine quality 2024 up to date? Or, tell me a little bit more about that, right? Feel like,
Hmm.
oh no, it hasn't been updated since, 2014. And it kind of lets people roll back their price a little bit more, roll back their idea of what their property is worth without telling them what it's worth. It's just being curious. So there's a lot of different ways to use curiosity. I use it just about the person too. Like people like to talk about themselves. So yeah, I hear a dog in the background. What kind of dog you got? Oh, I've got another. I've got a shepherd or whatever. And that's a way to build some rapport without getting right into business and like being in this head-to-head
Yeah.
negotiation type vibe. So that's one of the things I use. I just made a few notes here. One of the things with me when if I'm doing this role or if I'm coaching somebody else to do this role, don't spend a lot of time reviewing all the notes and everything before you make a call because you might not even get through to the person. So I usually just
Yeah.
do a quick scan of the lead card in Podio and just like get a basic idea of what's going on, what they, you know, look at the notes, but I would leave that to like 1 minute or less. Just get an orientation and then dial, right? And then there's always everybody says smile before you dial. People can feel your smile through the phone. It's might sound weird, but they can. So smile before you dial. Um, when I talk to somebody, I like to take charge right away and not you know, be not necessarily forceful, but be very clear and very be a leader in the conversation. So, for example, hi, John, it's Mark. I'm just calling you to follow up on the offer we sent. Did you get a chance to look at that? And they're like, whatever. Did you send me an offer? What offer? That kind of thing. And then we can have a conversation. I usually like to ask people, did I catch you at a bad time? Because then that's part of a go for no principle, which we've talked about here before. Like, oh, no, you didn't catch me at a bad time. I got a couple minutes. And then you've kind of got permission to chat for a few minutes. And then the other big thing is just giving space and letting the person talk. And the more I do that, the more information I get from the person, the more they feel comfortable and seen and heard. I'm interviewing acquisitions persons and people, and they're sending me calls. And I just listened to a guy last night, and he just ran all over the seller on the call and didn't give him a chance to talk at all, and didn't build any rapport or connection. It's just like you've got to give them a chance to talk. You've got to feel what their cadence is, what their pace of speaking is, and how they speak. And you've got to mirror that and be with that person on the phone, not just be on your agenda and roll through it because you're going to turn them off and it's not going to be as good of a conversation as it could be.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would say, and Pace Morby says this and other people say it, but don't give the price, get the price, right? So did you get our offer? Yeah, I did have a chance to look at it. Well, what did you think? Well, it's a little low. Okay, well, what do you mean by a little low? Like, what would be a good price for you? What's your ideal? What were you thinking of? What did you have in mind? And get them to give you a price, right? And then every once in a while, I'd say like 10% of the time, you get the person who's always like, "Oh, you tell me, you called me, you made me the offer, you tell me the price." And so then, with that one, what I usually do is a little dance with them. I'll change the subject. I'll go completely off book with that, and go away from price and just be like, "Oh, by the way, can you tell me, I was wondering, has this ever had a house on it in the past?" If I'm talking about a piece of vacant land. "Oh, no, it hasn't." "Okay, so it probably doesn't have like a curb cut or a culvert or anything." "All right. Did you ever look into the cost of doing that?" Like, I'll just go back to the qualifying thing again and like trying to level set them, and
Mhm.
then try and circle back to the price later, and I'll ask them the price again in a different way. So like, hey, if we could get you cash for this and we could close pretty quickly, like, really, what would you need to be able to let this property go, right? And they might say no again. If it's that type of person, "You tell me, you tell me." And every once in a while you're going to have to give the price, but I find if you circle back a couple of times and you change the subject, or even, it doesn't even have to be about the property. You can be like, talk about the weather, or it could be the time you talk about the dog in the background, or the area that they live in, or anything, to just continue to build rapport, build connection, build trust, and take the pressure off of the price discussion, and then come back to it later. So I do
Mhm.
that when I'm talking to people. And yeah, I think those are all the notes I wrote down. I just wanted to throw out some things about talking to sellers and negotiating price. And I do like, if they give me their number and, say we're offering 15,000 and they want 20, I often do a thing of like, "Hey, is there anywhere, if I know my max is 17, is there anywhere in between what we've offered and what, your ideal, that would still work for you? Is there a price that you could feel good about?" And a lot of times people will be like, "Yeah, if you could do 17, I'd be good." And then again, like, I don't jump on the price when they give me the price they want, because then that can make them feel like, "Oh, wow, I could have gone higher." It's more like, "Oh, 17, man. We were really hoping, like, this is tough. We got a lot of work to do here. It's going to cost us some money." And sometimes I'll even do the partner one, like, "Let me talk to my partner about this and see if we can get up to that number. I'll get right back
Mhm.
to you, okay?" And then I'll do that, and I'll call him back, and then in the next call is like, "Hey, good news. I was able to talk to my partner, and we can come all the way up to 16.5. What do you think?" Or something like
Yeah.
that. But so you can do it as a one part thing. But even if you do it as a one part and you want to take that 17, I would suggest really making it feel like it's painful on your side. Like, "Oh man, 17, you're really driving a hard bargain here. You really, okay, so if I could do 17, you're saying this would work today, and we can get this done and lock it up, and get a contract signed." And if they say yes, and "Okay, man, well, this is tough. It's higher than I want to spend, but well, let's do the 17. I want to make it a win-win." Right? Go that way rather than just be like, "Yes, 17."